Okay, so here is a little follow-up to the video that I posted previously about Fit Improvisation in Sonar. So someone in the forum actually suggested that I make sure that my reference track has notes that hit exactly where the notes are in the stuff that I want to fit. So this viola track, I copied it over to a second track, and I'm using that as my reference track. I added two more notes at the beginning just to make it roughly the same tempo before it starts going. But yeah, these notes are exactly the same as the notes in my recorded viola line. And if I do Fit Improvisation on this reference track, then my viola track hits all those quarters, and it changes the tempo, and it sounds pretty good. Okay, that's good, but let me undo that. Because the thing with a lot of advanced instruments is that besides hitting all these notes and having all these really high quality samples, what they'll do when you trigger a new note on and you want it to be legato is it will actually play some sort of transitional material between the previous note and the target note, such that the actual sounding of the next note happens some time after the note on. So in order to play a lot of these advanced instruments, you actually have to anticipate the note happening in the track. So for example, in this particular tool, there's something called responsiveness, and it's right now set to 0%. And with that set all the way there, it's going to play back the full transitional material between the previous note and the target note. If I set responsiveness to 100%, then with each note, you'll hear it immediately, right on the note on. It doesn't sound quite as accurate. It doesn't sound quite as realistic. If I put it down to 0%, you can hear that there's just a little bit of extra material there that represents the changing of the bow direction, the movement of the fingers down the strings in order to hit that next note. It's a fraction of a second, but it's still a fraction of a second that has to happen before the actual note sounds. So typically what happens is you anticipate the beat by putting the note on slightly before where it would be in musical time. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this reference track and I'm going to shift it over about 64 ticks. And this kind of represents this basic idea. What if it was consistently ahead of the beat? And in normal day-to-day use, it wouldn't be that consistent 64 ticks before the beat. But if I do this, this will show something really remarkable. I'm going to fit improvisation on this, and then look here. And you can see the issue that I had before with notes overlapping, some notes having gaps. The relationship between notes is not quite right. Well, Cakewalk actually tried here. A previous forum post said that they're not taking note duration into account. Well, in fact, they are taking note duration into account, but they're calculating that note duration based solely on the tempo when the note on occurs. However, if the tempo changes in the middle of the note, then the actual absolute time that's taken by the note has changed quite a bit by virtue of the note straddling two tempo ranges. So that first part of the note was sitting in one tempo, but the vast majority of the note is sitting in the next tempo. And because of that, it calculates the duration wrong. And if we listen to this right now, we get that weird wonky sort of rhythm going on. I'm going to undo that and undo one more time, so this reference track is back to its original position, but instead of offsetting it 64 ticks ahead, I'm going to offset it 64 ticks earlier. So I'm going to move it a little to the left. So this note here now happens at 102, 587 ticks. I go here. Oops, actually I want to go like this. Let's move this. Let's move that 0, okay. So this note here, 102, 459, 102, 587. I guess I did 128 ticks, but this will be fine. So now the actual notes for my viola are going to be slightly behind the beats that I've set up with my reference track. And here's what happens when I do that. Process, fit improvisation. And you can see that these things now seem actually pretty close. The durations seem about right. Why? Because now instead of most of the note being in the wrong tempo, now most of the note is in the right tempo, and it's just that slight bit at the end of the note that straddles into the next tempo range. And if we play back this track, we can see that it's mostly right. However, with all of these advanced instruments, you're not going to be lagging behind the beat. You're always going to be anticipating the beat. So this makes it problematic if I want to use a more advanced instrument, say a string or wind instrument that uses legato samples, that demands that in order to perform it correctly, I have to anticipate the beat. I cannot really use these instruments for tracks that I wish to use fit to improvisation on, because it just will not fit. If Cakewalk was able to make it such that it actually calculated all the tempo ranges that a note straddled in order to calculate its exact duration, then probably this feature will work as expected and as it should. So thank you for looking at that video. Thank you for responding to me in forum posts. And hey, Cakewalk, if you're listening, I really hope that maybe in the next update or so, you could try to address this, because I think it would be really important. Thanks for watching.